Record. Hi. Okay. Good evening, everybody. Again, I am going to record a video tutorial regards to the chapter 5 that we have discussed already. I know it's already done, but it will be better for you to go back from time to time so that you can practice well more on your activities. Not only the chapter 4, chapter 5, but also for the other chapters that we'll be going through. So number one is whatever activities that we have discussed from the first point that we will be having, we are going to make use of it until the end, until the finals. Okay, so I'm going to name this one, and I made this one up. It's a Network King with Sir Godwin. Okay, so basically these are the following topics which I'm supposed to be focusing on: initializing switch and router, erasing configuration, reloading, and we have done that one already. But in fact, I have made you explain already what's the purpose of erasing configuration and reloading. Okay, so I guess I'm not going to focus on the things anymore, unless if you have questions, you can post your questions in the comment section siguro, then at least I can go back and review it, then answer you right then and there. Okay. The topics that I will be discussing is more on chapter 5, CCNA routing and switching. So we'll be focusing on Cisco switches. Okay. uh, since we have discussed already the initial configuration, but I am going to review it back. No, you don't have to worry. Switch virtual interface, SVI, is very, very important. That's why we are going to discuss it. Also, we are going to discuss also remote access using Telnet and SSH. Since I taught you already Telnetting, SSH is not, not familiar to anybody, everybody. So I will be focusing also discussing the SSH, what does it do, what are the processes that you are going to do when you perform or implement the SSH. Then the last topic that we are going to discuss is the port security. One of the most very, very important in our Cisco implementation with regards to the switch. Okay, so I'm going to switch my PowerPoint presentation here. I don't want to play it, so that I can type in some of the information and command. Okay, so let's go to the basic switch configuration. Um, Maybe I'm going to touch a little bit about boot sequence. So boot sequence is the process where your switch initializes itself so that at the end of this boot sequence, the user now can identify whether that device or whether that particular switch or router can be used now. So at the end of the boot sequence, and we know we cannot see a boot sequence, okay? What we can see after a boot sequence is the prompt. The prompt may be in user exec mode, the privilege mode, or the global configuration mode. But basically, after a booting process, um, the, the, the prompt will be in the user exec mode. So these are the following. This is how a user exec mode prompt looks like: a switch with a greater than sign. If it is a privilege mode, it is a switch with a pound sign or a hashtag. Or if you are the global configuration mode, your prompt looks like this. It's a switch with config with a hashtag. So each of this level of prompts, no, gives out different commands. That's why you cannot give a particular command if you are not in that particular mode also, or prompt. Like for example, now in order for you to configure a particular line, so you have from your user exec mode, you are going to give enable, then giving out enable gives you a switch with a privilege mode. Then you are going to give a command config t so that you can configure globally your switch. And in the configuration mode, you are going to now to configure a specific features of your switch. Like for example, the line con 0, and everybody knows what line con 0 is. Okay, so that's how a switch boot itself. Okay, um, that's how a switch boots itself. Okay, so going back on this one, it's still the same booting process. That's why we are not going to, all you have to do is to read this one. Okay, now one of the most important thing is when your switch crashes, so how are you going to recover from that system crash? So basically all you have to do is to read all of this, okay, follow the instruction. Like for example, uh, the very best thing that you are going to recover from your system crash is you have to go to the bootloader switch prompt, okay, in order for you to reset your switch. So to do that, you're going to connect your power cable or your console cable. No? While you are connected, you unplug your switch power cord. Now, afterwards, you are going to insert it back. Okay, you connect back your power cord while holding the mode button. So later, I'm going to show you what is the mode button. The system LED, it turns briefly amber. So if it is orange, then it is okay. It is now restarting itself. Then it turns into green and release the mode button. Okay, so that's how we reset, or that's how we are going to reach the switch bootloader prompt for the purpose of recovering from that system crash. Okay, so the usual thing I gave is reset, so that the switch will go back to its factory setting mode. Okay, so here are the different LED indicators of your switches. So the system LED, so on and so forth. Now, this is the mode button that I told you. So that every time you click this one, you press this one, it jumps from one LED to another. Okay, but holding it while turning it on, or um, reco- what do you call this? Putting your power back on, restarts the switch and goes back to a bootloader switch prompt. Okay. Now, uh, maybe some of this one are only switches and some of the features of your switch, but one striking feature that I really like on a switch, most especially the PoE, okay, it is a power over Ethernet. So if you don't have any idea what the power over Ethernet is let's say, for example, you develop a network in which your network has a CCTV camera. So you have included your CCTV camera on your network. So when you put up a CCTV camera, all you have to do is to power this device. Okay, so it includes, or it creates a lot of wiring, because you have to power up. You have a power cable, and you have the data cable that goes to the switch. The power cable goes to the socket that you are going to power up the CCTV camera. But if you are using a PoE switch, or a power over Ethernet switch, you don't need to have a power cable to your CCTV camera, because the switch itself gives out the power to that device. Okay, using your cable. Okay, so this is an Ethernet cable. Usually the Ethernet cable has wires inside. So these wires includes the data cable that is used by our network to transfer, to receive data from one point to another point. But take note that inside your Ethernet cable, it has 8 wire pair. So the white, green, green, white, orange, blue, orange, white, brown. So we are taught in Cisco 1 that the orange and the green is intended for the data transfer. Okay, and the blue and the brown is dumb, wala, no? So it's not being used. This is now your switch uses powers, using these wires. Okay, so with the use of the brown and the blue, it now creates or uses these wires to give out power to devices that needs 12-volt electricity. Okay, so you don't need to have a separate power for that one. No? So that is the feature that I love in these switches. Now, okay, so let's say moving on. So moving on, when you are going to prepare your switch, you must configure it initially. Okay, so everybody knows what is initial configuration. Okay, let's me put up my packet tracer here. So if I have a switch and if I am going to configure an initial configuration, all I have to do is to connect it with my console cable, okay, from the switch console down to my RS232. So basically, I don't have an Ethernet yet. No, there's no networking that take place here. It's only the management of the switch. So I'm going to open my PC, okay, go to my desktop and go to the terminal. Press OK. And before you do that, no, in the real world, in the real world, the terminal here in your PC, the terminal here is the third-party software that you are going to use. Usually, what we are using is the hyperterminal of Windows, the PUTTY, no, the PuTTY, no, the terminal lines, and other emulator applications. Okay, but in this case, this is a packet tracer. It has already a terminal. Then the port configuration should be the same for all, so that your PC can reach your switch using these values. So 9600 bit per second, the data bits is 8, parity none, stop bits 1, flow control none. And others are using hardware. Okay, so basically those are the value. Okay, don't forget that. Now, if you're inside the switch, your switch now has booted itself. That's why we arrive already at the switch prompt or the user exec mode prompt. Okay, so initializing the switch, how do we know that the switch has initialized already? So basically, there is no information yet pertaining to the switch which is already running a configuration. None at all, because um, the user exec mode is still unnamed. Like for example, the name of the switch is still unnamed. So one of the initial configuration commands are the following. No, and we should follow this one. I'll put up my one. First thing, we are going to enable the switch. Enable the switch. Okay. So by giving the command enable, you are going to the privilege mode. And in the privilege mode, you are going to set up the configuration of the switch. Okay. So to enable the switch, all you have to do is to give the enable command, enable, then the configuration terminal, then after configuring, you're going to name your switch. Okay, then secure the terminal lines and the telnet lines. Okay, then thirdly, you secure the enable command. Okay, you secure the privilege mode. Enable privilege mode. Then lastly, you are going to encrypt your passwords. So by following these steps here, basically you are creating or you are configuring the initialization. Okay, you're doing the initialization, and sometimes I call this one initial configuration. Okay, so let's follow. Number one, we should give the command enable, right? So you are now at the privilege mode. In the privilege mode, we are going to give the command config t, okay, or configuration terminal. So I am shortcutting the commands, okay, because in Cisco, as long as it is not ambiguous, Cisco commands will be accepting it. Like for example, um, let's pull up a question mark so that we know that there are commands present in this mode. So if you look at these two commands here with the same conf, con, conf, and connect. So if you are going to use only con as a command for shortcut, enter, the command there, your switch cannot identify what command are you going to use, whether it is a connect command or a config command. That's why when you give out your command, make sure that it's not ambiguous. Okay, that's why we go for config because there is no other one, no other command says config. Okay, so your Cisco switch or your iOS will be processing this one and will accept the command as is. Okay, config, enter, and from this point, switch will ask you, what are you going to configure? Is it a terminal, the memory, or a network? Since we are going to configure the switch using the terminal, therefore we're going to type T. Okay, because when you are going to use T, there are no T's here except the terminal. Okay, so we press enter. We are now inside the global configuration mode. Now we exit. I am going to exit back. Then I'm going to give command conf T. Okay, so it's still the same command. So as long as you know how to shorten your command, that will be better. But if you don't know how to shorten your command, then it's nothing. No problem. Okay, so we are now at the configuration mode. Then it says there we are going to name your switch. So name your switch. You are going to give the command host name. Okay, so if you don't know how to, what would that command be, you press again question mark. Okay, by giving question mark, you switch will list down all the possible commands that you are going to use in the configuration mode. Then there, a command is hostname, set the system network name. So we're going to name our switch now. Naming the switch is very good one indicator that you know what you are doing, because if there are lots of switches in your network, so how can you identify that you are configuring the right switch if you are not going to name it? Okay, let's say for example, host name LB445, okay, dash SW1. Let's say for example there are two switches in LB445. So at least you know that in LB445, LB445, there you are configuring the switch number 1. So if you will notice, the word switch, okay, is was changed, and it becomes LB445 now. Okay. Then the next thing that we're going to do is to secure the terminal lines. So terminal lines is there. We have two lines present here. One is the terminal lines using the console, and the other one is the network line. So the network line uses what? Uses the copper straight through. This is what we call networking. Okay, because in network we are connecting two devices using an Ethernet cable. Okay, an Ethernet cable says this is now what we call the local area network, a very simple LAN. Okay, so we are creating a LAN, and it would be better for you to have another PC, connect it with your another cable here. So if you look at this one, so you have now two computers connected. Okay, you have two computers connected now, and if you are going to put an in our Cisco one, we are using IP addresses in order for these two computers to communicate. Okay, like for example, we are going to remove this one first, and we are going to put an IP address to our switch. Let's say for example 192.168.10.10, okay, with a gateway of 192.168.10.1. Okay, this is what we are taught in Cisco 1. So here will be 192.168.10.11, and we are making sure that our network is the same so that all of these computers can communicate on the same network, 192.168.10.1. Again, we have the same gateway. So if you are not going to put the gateway, it doesn't matter because you don't have any routers pa. Okay, so take note that the network address is totally different from an IP address. Okay, IP address came from a network address. So the network address that we are using is the 192.168.10.0. Then any numbers after the 10, no? Like for example, 10.1.2.3.4.5, so that would be your IP addresses, and that IP address, no, ranges from 1, okay, ranges from 1 to 254. So we have 254 IP addresses that you are going to use in this network, in this local area network. Now, since we are configuring it, let's go back to the terminal. So going back to that line, it says there, I am unable to configure the switch because I have a terminal line. So if all of the users have this cable, surely this PC can also configure the switch. So what's the point of having an administrator if all of your users can configure your device? Okay, that's why we are going to secure them, or else from time to time, people changes your configuration. Okay, so securing it will give you the command line console 0. Console meaning this is the console cable. We are going to put a password into it, and again, why is it 0? Because um, in our switches and in our router, we only have one port intended for the console. Okay, it's only one port. That's why in computer we always start with 0, 0, 1. Okay, so meaning we have two ports, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, meaning we have 5 ports. Okay, so that's why in our switches we only have one port to be configured. That's why it's only line con 0, not line con 1 to 10, like line con 1, etc., etc. Okay, so after giving a command line con 0, you give the command password. By this time, I want you to use only Cisco for simplicity. Okay, simple password purposes. But if you are working already, or if you are already in the like what they call this industry, don't use Cisco. Okay, uh, make the life of the hacker miserable. They can hack you, no problem, no question about it. But hacking the system, no, give them a hard time to do that. That's why put a very challenging password. Okay, then putting up the password. Okay, let the user also type in the password by giving the command login. Okay, so by giving the command login, you are enabling users, no, such as yourself, to type in the password. And if you are going to remove that login, therefore there will be no chance for the user to log in its password or to type in its password. Okay. Third, so the second thing that we are going to what we call the secure is the telnet lines, the line VTY or the virtual terminal lines. When we say the virtual terminal lines, um, let's say for example, this PC here would like to configure the switch also, but it doesn't have any console cable. So is there any chance for this PC to configure that switch? Yes, of course. So he will be using the what we call telnet. Okay, so the telnet is a feature in our networking. No? It's a protocol that enables users to access or to configure our switch remotely. When we say remotely, this PC, let's say for example on my laptop, or example lang, no? This is a very good example. If I am at if I am at Manila, no, and my work here is in Cebu, and suddenly my switch broke or my router broke, do I have to go home just to fix it? Not necessarily. No, I don't have to go home. I have to remote access my router or my switch for me to fix it rather than going home. Mahal-mahal ang bayad. No, it's very expensive. So that's why telnetting is very important tool also, no, being an administrator. But this is a dangerous type of protocol also to be used if somebody or anybody knows what your password is, or from time to time they can access your devices. That's why we have to secure them. Okay, so securing them, okay, going back, okay, all you have to do is to give the command line VTY 0 to 4. This is what I am telling you about the number of ports. In the virtual terminal line, there are 16 ports, meaning that if you are going to turn on all 16 ports from 0 to 15, those are 16 ports. So basically, you are turning on 15 ports at the same time. So 15 people can actually access the switch remotely. So this time, this one is I'm limiting only my reach to 5 simultaneous access to the switch. That's why I'm going to limit that from 0 to 4, meaning I have 5 ports open for virtual terminal lines. Okay, the same process that we are going to use, password, okay, Cisco, and we are going to let the people also let the administrator log in the password. Okay, so after giving the login, it says in our list here, after that we are going to give an enable privilege mode, secure the enable privilege mode. So you are going to exit here, then give the command in you are going to give the command enable secret. Then when we say enable secret, remember that when we started, when we boot up our PC, then after booting up, we gave the command enable ENA, that's enable. We gave the command enable so that we can go to the privilege mode. Okay, so imagine if you put enable here, people will put or ask about the password. Okay, so you have a 2-level password already from the login or from the terminal lines, then to the privilege mode. Okay, so the more passwords you have, the more level of security you have, the better. Okay, so let's try. So enable secret, then the secret here is just like a password, but the difference between a secret and a password is passwords can be seen. Okay, so when a person hacks you, when somebody hacks you, they can identify clearly what your password is. But when you put a secret, when you use a secret, uh, it's a different thing. Your password will be encrypted, so therefore nobody knows what the password you used. So that's why you have to be very careful also about it. So let's try to give the command lang as is Cisco. Okay, now how do we know that our commands are already finished? One thing that I would like you to do is, this is very, very important also. Aside from securing your line and naming your switch, I want you to create a message for the users. We call it the banner message of the day. Okay, and this is very, very important. Okay, why are you going to create a banner? The banner will tell the users that this type of device is strictly prohibited. So by putting that information, uh, they have already the idea that when they are going to enter this device or use this device, they are in great danger. Okay, they will be punished. Okay, those are your words in your banner. So let's try to create a banner. Okay, here I'm going to type banner, MOTD, which is the banner message of the day. Then I'm going to enclose this one, enclose my text between any symbol. Any, it's not only a $sign, but you can use any. Like for example, you use a plus sign. Okay, it doesn't matter anyhow. Okay, so whatever is enclosed in that symbol will be displayed as the banner. So the banner that I will be using is, let's say for example, warning. Okay, warning, unauthorized access to this device is strictly prohibited and is punishable to the full extent of the law. Okay, so that way users tend to distance themselves using this device because it's not for them. It is intended for the administrator. So that's a very good banner there. Okay, so I guess we are going to shoo away users rather than welcoming them to enter our devices. Okay, that's the point. Press enter. So basically, all of the initial configurations are finished. We will try to check whether our initial configuration is working or not. By exit, then you exit until such time you exit the switch. When you enter the switch, there you can see the banner already. and then the user access verification is already given to you. So since we know as an administrator, we know already the password. So let's type in the password. So what is our first command in order for us to go inside the privilege mode? Click enable, right? It's enable. So every time we press enable, okay, the switch will ask for your secret. Okay, so we know the secret already. And if you would like to know whether our configuration is already in place or intact, or do you have a inquiry about the switch configuration, all you have to do is to give the command show running config, because this is what running now. Okay, so basically here is the running configuration of our switch. So we have the host name already, we have the enable secret, a level 5 password. Okay, then some of our ports are not yet configured, that's why it is blank. Okay, then our interface VLAN has no IP address yet, and it is shut down, so meaning it's not working. So we have the binary LTD, and look at our line con 0 with the password of Cisco, and the line BTY with the password of Cisco. This is what I'm telling you, that when a hacker enters your switch, basically all your passwords are visible. So we have to encrypt this one also, okay? So that nobody can see what your password is. So in order for us to encrypt the password, all you have to do is to go inside the global configuration mode, okay? So meaning config T, then you have to give the command service password encryption. Enter. Then let's try to see if our command is executed. Show run. Okay, show run or show running config, still the same. Okay, I've just shortcut the command. There, you can see now your password. Instead of Cisco, it is already encrypted with the level 7 encryption. Okay, so our passwords are secured. Okay, so those are the first part of your initial configuration. The second part of the initial configuration is we are going to Telnet, right? We are going to use Telnet in order for us to access the switch. Now, by using Telnet, you are going to put an IP address to the switch. Okay, that is the lesson that I have given you. So to remote manage a particular switch, it must be configured to access the network. So first, syempre, no, first time that you are going to configure a switch and enable the telnet or the remote access, you must use the console cable. Once the command is already given, then you can throw away your console cable, or keep your console cable for emergency purposes. Okay, the purpose of which is, let's say for example, this PC here, I am going to use my laptop as a management laptop. Okay, this is mine. Okay, Godwin MGT laptop. Okay, this is the laptop that we are going to use to configure switches. Okay, so in this case, I would like to telnet from my office, okay, from my office down to this PC. Let's say, for example, I'm going to put it at port number 24. So if I have an IP address here, because I am an administrator, I'm going to use 192.168.10.9, okay, to 192.168.10.1. Okay, since I am part of the network already, I am going to enable myself to access the switch. Can I ping these PCs here? Okay, they're successful. You ping the PC there, this is successful. But can I ping the switch? So basically, the switch has no functional ports. Why? Because you have not yet put an IP address onto it. Now, as we are taught in Cisco 1, no, the only thing that we can put an IP address to a switch is through its SBI. Okay, that's why it says there the IP information address subnet mask gateway is to be assigned to a switch virtual interface. Why? Because you cannot put an IP address to a switch port. Why? why can't we put an IP address to a switch port? Now, this has been explained. I have explained this one a lot already, that a port is also named as interface, okay, in other sense. And in switches, we have 24 ports, no? 24 fast Ethernet port, so that it will be very specific. Fast Ethernet port and 2 gigabit port, okay? But all of these ports are physical in nature, okay? And the only thing that you can put an IP address to a port is using its logical, using a logical interface. This is the problem now of a switch, because all switches has physical ports only, not logical in nature. So what happens is you cannot put an IP address to a switch so that we can access them. That's why we have the what called SVI, or the switch virtual interface, meaning it's a logical interface that enables us to put an IP address, and that is your VLAN 1. Okay, so that's the idea of VLAN 1. Now, let's try to remove, okay, because remove this one and put it in our management laptop now. And we are going to label this one, label all of these computers here, okay, put color into it. And this is a local area network, okay, while example, this is only an example, no? While this part here is the management PC, okay. So we have two networks now present, huh? We have two network present. So you don't let your students, and let's say for example this is a laboratory, you don't let students in the laboratory to manage a switch. That's why it is you only who will manage the switch, either using the console cable or using the telnet. But in this case, these two students here can still access this switch and can telnet. That's why we are going to put an IP address and secure it. Now, how to do that? Again, let's go to terminal. Okay, it's the same thing, no? It's the same thing. I am now at my switch. I'm going to configure the terminal lines. Okay, so we are going to put an IP address to the switch. First thing that you are going to do is go to the global configuration mode, config T, then give the command VLAN 1. Okay, since VLAN 1 is already existing, you go to that interface VLAN 1. Then you are going to put a password, IP address, okay, IP address, and identify the IP address that you're going to use, 192.168.10.2. Why of all the IP address 2? Because that's what I have taught you in Cisco 1. IP addresses from that 1 to that 9, we are going to reserve that one for administrative purposes. That's why, if you can see, I started my IP address by 10 in the laboratory, 10, that 11, that 12, so on and so forth. Okay, so that 2 is intended for the switch, and that one later is intended for the router because it's a gateway. Now, after putting an IP address, then the correct IP address, then we are going to put its subnet mask, 255.255.255.0, and press enter. Then we are going to activate that port by giving the command no shutdown, or no shut at all, pwede naman. Okay, so our VLAN now is activated, and we are good to go with our telnetting. Let's say, for example, I'm going to use this one, and I'll close the terminal, and instead of using terminal, telnetting is in your command prompt. Okay, so we will make sure that we can ping the switch so that we can perform the telnet. Okay, so ping 192.168.10.2, right? So we are going to wait for a couple of seconds, and if you are bored waiting, you can always press this one, the fast forward. Okay, by clicking this one, automatically the switch will process ahead of time. Okay, so take note that our PC now can ping with our switch. So if it can ping, it can telnet. So Telnet 192.168.10.2, enter. So using a command prompt and giving the command telnet and the target IP address enables us to manage the switch remotely. Okay, so press Cisco, enable Cisco. Now, again, there are two ways to do that. No, there are two ways to manage a switch. It's either you go through with the terminal lines or you go through with the telnet. Okay, sige. So if we are going to remove the console cable, no, we're going to remove the console cable, then I'm going to use the telnet. Okay, still working, but your terminal lines is not working anymore. Okay, there is no terminal lines anymore because you remove already the console cable. So this way, we are going to configure the switch from time to time using telnet. Now, can these two thugs here, can these two students here enable to telnet? As long as they know how to telnet, like for example, they are taught to telnet, they are taught already networking, they know telnetting. So they can telnet the IP address, and if they know the IP address of the switch, therefore they can type it down, 192.168.10.2. And basically they can telnet also. As long as they know the password, they can enter the switch. That's what we call hacking already. Okay, so Cisco, enable Cisco. So look at these students. They are also managing the switch. That's why, according to these topics, here, okay, the next thing is we are going to separate ourselves as administrator and create a new SBI for us. Instead of using the VLAN one, we are going to create our own SVI or our own VLAN as administrator and separate ourselves from the students' network. Okay, so how do you do that? So that if you have a different network here, different VLAN, and they are of different VLAN, you cannot communicate. Okay, so this way we are going to separate ourselves. We are going to name ourselves here as VLAN 99 for management VLAN, and this is VLAN 1 for networking or for the laboratory VLAN. So to do that, again, I'm going to remote access my switch. I'm already here. So what will I do is I'm going to config T, and I'm going to create VLAN 99. VLAN 99. So if VLAN 99 is already created and I am now inside the VLAN commands, I am going to name, okay, or issue name or issue commands under the VLAN option. So we are going to name our VLAN as management. Enter. So how do we check if our VLAN is already working? Okay, if you look at this one, no? If you are going to exit from the configuration mode, then giving the command show VLAN brief, okay, will give us the view of our entire VLANs in the switch. So basically, the VLANs in the switch are VLAN 1, which is the default VLAN, and all ports belongs to that VLAN. That's why all ports can communicate because they are of the same VLAN. Okay, and if we are going to create our own VLAN, remove that port which we are connected and put it in our VLAN. Therefore, that port now cannot communicate with the other ports. Okay, so if they cannot communicate with the other ports, meaning we are a different network now. So we are going to remove the IP address of that VLAN 1 so that this network here of the same IP address with our switch cannot now access the telnet. Okay, so to do that, we are going to do this process or these steps. We're going to show run so that we can determine what is running in our network, in our switch now. So again here, so in this instance, we have already VLAN 1 with an IP address, but no VLAN 99 yet. So we are going to put an IP address to VLAN 99 so that we can separate ourselves there. Okay, to do that, config theta, then int VLAN 99, then we are going to put a different IP address. Okay, so IP add, let's say for example 172.16.19.2.255.255. Since this is a class B network, therefore there are 255s only. Okay, enter, no shot. So if we show run, okay, basically if we are going to give the command show run here, it will not work because show run can only be given at a privilege mode. But if you are going to use the do command to bypass each level, then you can give the commands now, any other commands, as long as there is a do, you don't have to go to that specific prompt. So meaning you can do show run now, okay, and it works. Okay, so here we have two different VLANs now. So the VLAN intended for the management and the VLAN intended for the network or the laboratory. Now take note, since we are using this one, the VLAN 99, and this computer here is part of the VLAN 1. Okay, is part of the VLAN 1 IP address. We are going to remove that address now. So we are going to remove this IP address, okay, and change the IP address of our switch, of our PC. Okay, so when we remove, it's very simple. In VLAN 1, okay, then you say no IP add, enter. So if you notice, you cannot type anymore because your IP address is already removed from that switch. Okay, and the running IP address of the switch now is the 172. That's why it is connection timeout. The remote host is not responding anymore to your commands. Okay, so all you have to do is to change your IP address into the 172. Take note, we changed the IP address into the 172. Okay, 172.16. Let's say for example 99.10.255.255.0.0. Then don't care about the gateway, okay, because we don't have any routers yet. Now let's try to command prompt and telnet again. Telnet 172.16.99.2. Okay, not responding yet. Let's try to ping. Why? 192, ping 172.16.99.2. Enter. I hope it pings. Okay. The reason why we cannot enter, because let me pull up my console cable again. Okay. Tanaw na tong sulod, no? If we are going to give our command also and see what happened. Show VLAN brief. Look at that. We have not transferred, no? We have not transferred our port to the management port. That's why we still belong to VLAN 1. Okay, we still belong here. So we have to transfer ourselves here. You get the point? So to transfer yourself there, you go to that VLAN in config T, okay, in VLAN 99, then give the command switch port in VLAN 99, mode access, okay, what happened? I am inside the VLAN 99. Oh my God. Okay. So it's very simple for you to transfer from port number from VLAN 1 to VLAN 99. So all you have to do is to go to that port in FA0/24. Then you have to give the command switch port mode access, then switch port access VLAN 99. So meaning we transferred already the port from VLAN 1 to VLAN 99. Okay, so we are going to give the command do show run. You can see port number 24 belongs now to VLAN 99 and ports number 1 to 23 still belongs to VLAN 1. So let's us try again. Do show VLAN brief. So if you look at that one, all ports belongs to VLAN 1, but this port that we are attached to the management laptop now belongs to VLAN 24, VLAN 99. Okay, so we are going to test our Telnet if it is working or not at all. Command prompt. Okay, would be better for us to remove our console to test things out. Okay, console, then try telnetting. Okay, here go to command prompt. Okay, give the command telnet 172.16.99.2. So if you are very eager to know already if it is working or not, you go telnet. But as a network professional, I always ping things up. I-ping na po so that I can determine whether I am connected with that particular IP address. If it pings, then good. If it is not, then perform troubleshooting. Again, it will take time, then reply na siya. So meaning this PC now is currently connected to the switch via VLAN 99 24 port. Okay, so telnet. Okay, 172.16. Yes, Cisco. Enable Cisco. So without a console cable, I can still now access the switch. Can this PC now here that belongs to the network can telnet? A while ago, here at this PC here, a while ago, we gave a command telnet and we telnetted the 192.168.10.2. Take note, no, that we changed already. So can this computer telnet again the computer here, the switch? I don't think so. It's not responding anymore. Okay, so telnet 192.168.10.2, it's trying and it cannot connect anymore. Why? Because the IP address of your switch is not 192 anymore. It's 172. So if I'm going to use the 172 telnet 172.16.99.2, again, they cannot enter because they have a different IP address and a different VLAN. So that is the purpose why we have VLANs, so that even if we have one switch, we can have different networks. Okay, so that will be better. So implementing your switch fully rather than using the switch like an extension wire would be better. Okay, so our objectives now for here, we know how to create an IP address or an SPI using int VLAN VLAN 1 and int VLAN 99. Then we have remote access the switch via telnet. This time we are going to use the SSH. If we can do it, would be better. Okay, so SSH and telnet are two different things. SSH is more secured compared to the telnet. So I'm going to put up here the SSH operation. So the SSH operation tells us that it is a protocol that provides a secure encrypted command line based connection to a remote device. So unlike our telnet is not secured anymore. Okay, so I have explained to you already. I gave you an analogy, the difference between an SSH and a telnet. But this time I'm going to focus more on the technical side. Okay, SSH uses TCP port 22 by default. Telnet uses TCP port 23. So later on, these ports are very, very important for you to remember and use. Okay, so let's move on. So these are the following commands that we are going to perform if we are going to configure SSH. So creating the SSH, generate the RSA key, okay, then configure the terminal lines, etc., etc. So we are going to work on that one. So pull up again the packet tracer here, okay. Take note that we are using Telnet, right? We are going to create another network, okay. Simple lang. We'll make it this one very fast. I have our PC, okay. Let's say, for example, I have a network of 3 PC in a network. Okay, this is connected with the switch. Okay, then we're going to cable this one. This is PC1, port 1, port number 2, port number 3. Okay, this one is connected to port number 24. Oops. Oh, it's not working anymore. Port number 1. Oops. Crazy. This is port number 24. Okay. Sige. So again, we are going to make a differentiation between these select fill color. Okay. We're going to use a different color. Say this one is intended for our network. Okay, and this color here is intended for our management. Again, this is VLAN 99 and this is VLAN 1. So the concept of SSH is almost similar to Telnet, but the processes and command that we are going to use are different. So the concept is the same. We are going to separate our network from VLAN 1 to VLAN 99 so that we can have our own network of management. Okay, rather than combining ourselves with the laboratory, which we have the same IP address. Therefore, all PCs in that network can also access the switch for management because they know the IP address for VLAN. They know the IP address for telnetting. They know the IP address for SSH. So that is that's a danger. Then what I am always doing is instead of typing and retyping all the commands, all I have to do is to put it in a notepad. Enable config t. Okay, I'm going to list down all the commands. Okay, so it says there initial configuration. This is another way to configure your devices as fast as you could. No, so one good best practice that you are going to do always is to document your work. Okay, so that from time to time you can go back to the document and read what have you done already in that particular configuration. Okay, so enable config t, then host name. Let's say, for example, we have a different one, lb 445 sw2. Okay, then banner motd. Again, the sequence of the command does not matter anyhow. Let's try to use a different symbol. Then warning, unauthorized access to this device is strictly prohibited and is punishable to the full extent of the law. Okay, so those are banner motd. Then we secure our line con 0, password Cisco login, line bty 04, and password Cisco login. Okay, then we exit here, then enable secret Cisco, then afterwards give the command service password encryption, enter. So this way, all you have to do is to highlight this command, okay, copy, you go to your terminal, okay, desktop, close this, okay, desktop terminal, okay, then all you have to do is to right click and paste. So basically all the commands are already here. Oops, we got a wrong. This is the danger part. If you don't know how to issue that command in your what you call this notepad, you might get a wrong command here because password encryption are there's a dash service password encryption. Okay, so you can copy here and paste. Okay, there. So we missed the dash. That's why it is a wrong input. So make sure that your commands here in your notepad is the same as the command here in your packet tracer. Okay. So we have already performed initial configuration. Let's say exit and exit. If you look at this one, your initial configuration have already executed. Cisco, enable Cisco. So we have entered. The next thing that we're going to do is to um, interface configuration. When we say interface configuration, we are going to create a VLAN 99. Okay, VLAN 99. We name it as management VLAN, management and VLAN. Then we are going to exit here. Then we are going to put an IP address to our VLAN in VLAN we are going to transfer the port. Okay, either or, it doesn't matter whether you are going to put an IP address first to your VLAN or you're going to transfer the port number 24 to your VLAN 99. So either way will work. So let's put an IP address to VLAN 99. So in VLAN 99, then IP add 172.16.99.2. Okay, then 255.255.0.0, enter, now shut. Then the next thing that we're going to do is to transfer, okay, the port number 24 to the VLAN itself, the VLAN 99. So that would be in FA0/24. You go to that port, you give the command switch port mode access, enter, then switch port access VLAN 99. Okay, so we are going to make sure if our command is correct. So we are going to do this one by one. Copy. We'll make sure that we are inside the configuration mode. So config T, then we copy this command from one line at a time, copy, then we paste. So the VLAN is created. Then we exit, okay, exit, paste here, enter. Then we are now going to call this. Oh, we are going to put an IP address to our VLAN, paste. Okay, it's already up. Okay, we exit, then copy this one, right click paste, then there. We have transferred our port to VLAN 99. Let's try to show the command. Do show the VLAN brief, enter. So if you look at this one, your VLAN now has two numbers, VLAN 1 and VLAN 99. And basically, all VLAN 1 now has this port and the VLAN 99 has this port. Okay, so we are going to perform now what we call SSH. So giving the command SSH, okay, I am going to do that here one by one, okay, in this port here. With the aid of our command here in the PowerPoint says, first thing that you're going to do is to put an IP domain. Okay, let's go to that command here. PowerPoint. What the? No, it's not there. Okay, so that we can see the commands that we are going to perform, then we have to follow it. We will exit here. Make sure that we are at the config T, global configuration mode, then give the command IP domain name, IP domain name dash name, then cisco.com. Enter. Then give the command crypto key generate RSA. Enter. Then the computer will ask you how many modulo are you going to create, how many bit your password has. How many has five characters, so 5 times 8, that's 40. That's 40 with a modulo of 1024. It is a different value. So uh, all information now will be encrypted. It's because the values that we are typing is totally different from what you can see, because it has been it has been what they call this, converted already by the crypto generate RSE command. Okay, so again, the RSA there stands for the reverse shaman Adelman formula, okay, for generating cryptography key. Okay, so 1024. Then basically the next thing that we're going to do is look at that SSH solid enabled. This time we're going to create a username. Okay, then for example admin, then you are going to put a password secret, let's say Cisco. So take note, the difference between a password and a secret is your password is visible while your secret is encrypted. Okay, take note, a while ago in our what you call this initial configuration, we have already created a line BTY. Okay, we have already set the password Cisco, but since we have already created a secret Cisco here, this one will be changed. Okay, who will be the one to change? So basically the computer will be the one to do that. Your switch will be the one to do that. So let's continue this one, enter. Then it says there, we are going to the line VTY 015, configure the line VTY communication lines. Okay, so to do that, go here, then line VTY 015. Okay, enter. Then we are going to give the command transport input SSH rather than transport input telnet. Okay, sir, question. We have not created this command a while ago in our initial configuration because it's not that very important to put transport input telnet, because by default it is already telnet. But this time we change our remote access to SSH. That's why we have to tell the switch that we are going to use the SSH by giving the command transport input SSH. Okay, enter, then log in local, enter, exit. If you are going to put the IP SSH version 2, it doesn't matter at all. Pero it would be better that you are going to put it. Okay, SSH, okay, version 2. Enter, exit. Okay, so we have done this configure number 5 already. Here. So take note, we are configuring the switch here via terminal lines. So if you are going to access your switch via remote access, we are going to use the command prompt. Then we have to make sure that all our computers has IP addresses. This one, I don't think so. If we have an IP, that's why we're going to put 172.16.99.10.55. While in your laboratories here, you have a different network. That's it. That is 192.168.10.10, 255.192.168.10.1, which is our gateway. We have to just copy this one, then jump here, and this is 11. Okay, this is .1. Okay, the third one is this one. This is 12, and this is .1. So basically, Take note, all computers here in your laboratory can ping each other. Okay, they can ping each other, but they cannot ping the switch because the switch has a different IP address. But this computer here can ping the switch because they are of the same IP address. So if they can ping, they can telnet. Okay, but it's not telnetting that we use. It's SSH. So we will try to remove the console cable just to prove that our remote access is working. So you go to your PC, you go to your laptop. Again, this is a management laptop. Okay, so we'll try to access the SSH. So giving the command SSH is totally different from telnet. Okay, we try to put SSH. It gives us what? The usage of SSH is you type the command, use the -L, you type the username and the target IP address. Okay, so it says there SSH -L, then our username that we use is admin, then the target is 172.16.99.2. So basically, I am now inside the SSH. Cisco, okay, then enable Cisco. Okay, so I can now configure the switch anywhere I am in the world, okay, and secured. Okay, so if I'm going to use this one, okay, take note, if I'm going to use this one, and I'm going to telnet what 192.168.10.2, it's not working. It will not work. Why? Because it has a different IP address and there is no telnetting here. Let's try SSH. SSH -L. Then how the user know what is the username of this switch? Nobody knows. Let's say, for example, no, admin. Okay. Then what's the IP address? They don't know also. If they use the 192.168.10.2 that they used to, it cannot work because it is a different gun. It has a different IP address, different command. That's why this is much more secured compared to the telnet itself. Okay, so we have done already telnetting. We have done already our SSH. And if you have any question, then you can pinpoint that to the to any comments. Try to contact me. Now, I skipped some of the topics here because this is not that very important to you. Basically, what you call this? Basically, the switch has a default values already. Okay, don't touch it, don't change it. Change only the things that you need to change. Okay. Now, in this instance here, we are going to create a default value or default gateway to our switch. So basically, if you are working with the default gateway, it points to the router. In our example, we don't have a router, therefore we cannot put the default gateway, right? So let's try to put a default gateway. Take note, the default gateway is very, very important because in our network, this is where we connect ourselves to the internet. Without the gateway, there will be no way for us to connect ourselves to the internet. Let's try to put another device for the sake of samples. So here, we're going to put the server here, and we are going to put a router so that we can connect ourselves to the internet. Okay, so we are going to connect that one using our gigabit internet here, then gigabit 0. Then we are going to put another card to our router. That's why I'm going to put it off. Then I'm going to use the HWIC. HWIC is a high-speed one interface card that provides at least 2 ports in order for us to connect outside our organization. This is what I am telling you, what I am saying. Let's say, for example, we are going to simulate the internet. Okay, here. So this is, let's say, for example, Globe or PLDT ISP. Okay, so how are we going to do that? So our router will be the one to connect out there. That's why we're going to use a serial cable. So without the HWIC, if you are not going to put an HWIC, you don't have any serial connection. That's why we put it so that we can connect ourselves via serial, then a serial connection towards our ISP. So meaning all of the computers here in our laboratory can have an internet connection already as long as we are going to configure our gateway. So to configure our gateway, that's very, very simple. Okay, we use RS232 towards here, and we go to the console. Then we're going to configure it via terminal. Okay, so how do we put an IP address? So entering our router is very simple, no? So the first question that your router will ask you, would you like to enter the initial configuration dialog? No, just answer no, so that you can have your CLI mode. Okay, let's delete this for a while. Now, since this is a router, it needs also initial configuration. Take note, we have already created our initial configuration here, but we are going to change the host name, okay? And we are going to perform copy and paste. Let's say, for example, this is Bunzel underscore RTR. So this router belongs to Banzel because there are so many routers in our institution. Therefore, we can name our routers so that when we are going to configure them, we know what router we are configuring. Okay, so we copy here. Okay, we copy, we go here, then right click and paste. So basically, we finish already our initial configuration. Okay, do you have any question? Wala man siguro, no? Okay. No questions anymore. Now, the second step that we are going to perform to put a gateway is to create an interface configuration. Take note, the interface configuration of your router is totally different from the interface configuration of your switch. Okay, why? Because we are putting an IP address to the port of this router. And the port of this router is different from the port of the switch because the port switch are physical, not logical. But the port of the router is basically an interface, both physical and logical. So we can directly put an IP address to a router. Okay, so to do that, very, very simple. Okay, what will you, I guess, I'm going to put this one by one na lang in the management computer rather than putting it in the what I call this notepad, so that you can go through with the process. You are now inside the config T, then go to the port where your network is connected. So we are connected at G00 in G0/0. Then we are going to put the gateway address. Take note that your PC has a gateway address already. Take note. What's the gateway address? The 192.168.10.1. So that is the IP address that we are going to put. IP address 192.168.10.1. 255.255.255.0. Enter, no shut. So you can see that your gateway is already turned on. Okay, so if it is already turned on, all of these computers now can ping the gateway. So they can, what? They can go outside the network and go to the ISP or to the internet. Okay. Ah, let's try to, sorry, let's try to see if the configuration is already up. Okay. Do show run. Okay, there's an IP address already, 192.168.10.1. You know, shut na. So let's try to see if this computer has an IP address already, 192.10.1. Okay, so we have an IP already. Let's try pinging the gateway. Ping 192.168.10.1. There, it pings already. Okay, so basically computer number one here, this computer here can access the gateway, and probably if this is configured, this line is configured, it can go to the ISP, but that's another topic. Okay, so how about this computer here? 10.1. Okay, so basically if we ping the gateway 192.168.10.1, this guy here can perform or can internet now. How about this PC here? Okay, 12. Okay, let's try to ping. So ping 192.168.10.1. So it's pinging also. So basically, all of the computers here can ping each other, and can ping their gateway. Therefore, they can go outside their organization and use the internet. That's the idea of the default gateway. Wrong. So going back to our plan, I hope you don't have any question when you are going to put a gateway to your router. Okay. So here, full duplex, just read. Okay. What's the purpose of this one? You know how to read. This is not that very technical. Okay. Uh, this is one point that I'm going to emphasize also. Auto-MDIX is very, very important when people are always using a different cable for the same device. Let's say, for example, if you want to connect switch to a switch, the cable that you're going to use is crossover because crossover is a cable intended for similar devices. But some people are very, very hard-headed, okay, very stubborn. They know that they are connecting switch to switch, yet they are using a straight through. That's wrong. So it says there, um, the switch will be the one to adjust for you. Certain cable types straight through or crossover were historically required when connecting devices. But we know that when we connect devices using straight through, meaning we are connecting different devices. And if we are using crossover cable, we are connecting similar devices. Okay, that's why the automatic medium dependent interface crossover or the Auto-MDIX eliminates the problem. So para no dili ta maglibog, no, we can to eliminate the problem and we are confused of putting what type of cable we are going to connect from one switch to another, we are going to configure the switch to adjust itself if ever you are going to use straight through. That is Auto-MDIX. Your command will be simple. Okay, configure terminal, you go to your interface where that cable is connected from that cable, then give the command MDIX auto. Okay, so that FA01 now will adjust itself if the cable connected onto it is a straight through rather than a crossover. Okay, so that is the meaning of the Auto-MDIX. I hope you are informed about this. Okay, so verifying the switch port configuration, take note. No, all you have to do is to determine if you have already configured things up. How do you check it? By checking it is to show it. Like for example, show interfaces. So if I'm going to give the command show interfaces here, say in my computer, uh, using my telnet in the switch, telnet 172.16, there Cisco, enable Cisco, then I give show interfaces, enter, then uh, switch will give me all the information with regards to what is the information for FA01. It says it is up, the line protocol is up. So we are currently using the port 1. Okay, then all of the ports will be given to you. Like for example, we pick pass Ethernet 9. It is down and the protocol is down. Why? Down because nobody is using port number 9. The protocol is down because we did not configure, we have not configured yet anything at pass Ethernet 9, so on and so forth. Okay, so if you are going to display only a single, excuse me, if you are going to display only a single port, you say show in FA0/24. Okay, so that's very specific. Instead of show interfaces, it will all interfaces will be displayed. But if you are going to specify a single port, so you are going to say show interfaces, then what interface would that be? So in this case, okay, this command shows pass Ethernet 24. It is up. The line protocol is up. And all of the information, such as its MAC address, is already given. No? and all the other information pertaining to this port is also given. So going back here, that's your problem anymore. Okay, that's your discipline yourself, showing all the information that you need to know with regards to your configuration by using all of this command. Okay, I hope so. Then okay, so this is a self-explanatory reading. So read it yourself. Then you try to research what's the meaning of this. Okay. What I will be teaching you is technical terms, technical aspects. So we done already with SSH. We have already verified SSH, and we know already that there are several ports that is being used. This is where the port security comes in, and port security is very, very important. Okay, I'm having my sore throat now. Now, here, I'll give you a scenario. Let's close this. I will give you a scenario. Let's one now. Let's try. In this network, we know that there are ports, that there are unused ports. Okay, if I hover this one, you can see that ports from FA04 down to ports 23, it is down and nobody is using it. And somebody would like to hack your server. Let's try to put an IP address to our server so that we can simulate it. So let's say 192.168.10.3. 255.192.168.10.1. So basically, our server can also ping the router. Let's try. Ping the router. Yes, it is successful. Ping the PCs. Yes, it is successful. So meaning all of the computers here can also access the server. Then, this what happened. Okay? A particular person, not in your department, would like to hack the system. Okay? Let's name this person the hacker. Okay. So, hacking the network requires some skills. But the skills is very, very basic. So, the first thing that the hacker will do is he will bring his own console cable, okay, console cable, and attach the switch. Okay, so knowing that he can access this one. So basically, if that hacker doesn't know, okay, if that hacker doesn't know what is the password and what is the password and whatever security that you put in the network, okay, he can hack it. But unfortunately, this switch here is at my office or is at the cabinet. So how can a hacker bring his own console cable and attach there? Somebody might see him. So what will he do? What will he do is he is going to connect himself to the network. That way he cannot be identified. Okay, using the unused port. So any ports will do. And because nobody is using this, like for example, I'm going to use the 15. Okay, by using the 15, I am now, or the hacker now is connected. And by knowing the IP address of the network, very, very simple, 192.168.10.100, let's say, he used the 100 network. Then give the default gateway 192.168.10.1. That's very easy. It's very easy because, let's say, for example, he went to a PC here and applied what we call command in ipconfig. So basically, he can now see what is the configuration of all the PC in the network, okay, and apply it to himself. So how can you secure yourself from hacker and using a port which is not being used? So this manner, the first thing that you are going to do is to secure the unused port by shutting it down. Okay, shut down mo, no? You're going to shut down that port so that nobody can use it. So as an administrator, I go to my command prompt, okay, or I go to my terminal. It doesn't matter whether it is terminal or command prompt, okay, here. So I can do that. So you can now use both terminal and command prompt. If you go terminal, that's okay. You are using the console port. But if you are using the command prompt, you are using the SSH. So either or can work, will work. So let's go terminal. Okay, sorry, Cisco, then enable Cisco. Okay, there. So the first thing that you are going to do, if you want to secure the port, you are going to go to that port and shut it down. So let's say, for example, config T. So it says there ganyan a while ago that we are not using ports number 4 down to 23. So you go, let's say, for example, we start with 4. So int fa0/4, then shut down. So basically that port is shut down. Okay, then go to int fa0/5, then shut down. I think this command is correct, but it will take you too long to shut down all the ports one by one. You can always what? You can always configure all together the ports by giving the command range. And by this time, now I am going to give this command so that I can shut down all the ports all together or at the same time. So interface, okay, int range, okay, fa04 to 23. Okay, so that way, if I am going to put this, I am now gathering all the ports all together. Then I'm going to give the command shutdown. So all the ports are shut down already. And look at what happens to the port where the hacker is using. He cannot use now port number 15, right? So what will he do is to transfer to the other port. Okay, let's try to remove this one first. Okay, he will transfer to the other ports. Okay, so let's say he will use the 20 unknowingly that this port has been shut down already. So any other unused port is already shut down. That's why if you're an administrator, this is a best practice that when in your local area network, any unused port should be shut down, or else the hacker will gonna use the port and hack you. Okay, so take note, he can do that remotely also. Okay, so let's try to remove this. And if the hacker is not successful, there are many ways to hack your system. So what would that be? So that hacker is very bright. He cannot use the unused port because he know already that all of the ports are shut down. So what he will do is he will borrow the cable from the existing PC with the existing line and connect it to himself. Okay. Now he is now connected to the network by borrowing that cable. So let's try to determine if he can ping the network. Let's ping the PC. Okay, he hacked already this PC, the PC3. He hacked already the PC2. Oh my God. He hacked already your server. He hacked already your router. Okay? He cannot hack this one. It's because it has a different IP address. So the management is very bright. But not that bright because some of the used port are not also protected. Okay? So sorry for us because we're hacked. Now to be a good administrator, this port here, which are used port, will be what? Will be protected using what we call port security. Okay? So by applying port security onto it, basically nobody can hack you anymore. Your network will be secure. So the operation of the port security is we are going to let that switch identify that that MAC address of legitimate device are allowed to access. So take note, PC and switch communicate at the MAC address level. Okay, so we are going to bind the MAC address of the PC to the port. Okay, so going back here, I'm going to demonstrate that this PC here as a MAC address. So this PC is connected to FA03. So what we are going to do is whatever the MAC address of this PC will be binded with the port number of this switch. That way, if this will be transferred to this PC, in which this port has a dedicated MAC address already binded with PC4, then that line will be shut down or it has a violation. So whatever violation would it be? Okay, so the idea is securing the MAC address can be configured in different ways. It will be static or dynamic. Okay, so I will be giving you the process first so that you can configure it yourself. So to do that, no? To do that, let's protect FA01. Okay, look at that. This is FA01. We have to identify what's the MAC address of FA01 of this computer and put it at FA01 port of your switch. How to do that? It's very, very simple. Okay, again, you should be in the configuration mode. Okay, so you have to give the command int FA0/1 because that's our target port. We are going to bind the MAC address of this PC to that port. And the next thing that you're going to do is convert this port to become static rather than dynamic. If it is a dynamic port, you can never configure it. But if it is a static port, then you can configure whatever you want to do with this port. Okay, so to change the dynamicity of that port is this one. Switch port mode access. This way the port becomes dynamic now. Okay. Make this one a little bit bigger so that you can see the commands. The commands is very, very long. Then the next command is switch port security. Then switch port. The command switch port for security enables the security for this port. Okay. Then the next thing that we're going to do is port security maximum 1. So it means that this port here can be used by number of PC all, from time to time. So if you are going to put 1, only one PC can use that port. If you are going to put 5, so any of the 5 PC that you are going to put there can use that port. So for security purposes, I'm going to use only 1 so that it is 1 port to 1 PC only. Okay, enter. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to put the MAC address, and we're going to get that MAC address of the PC. So you go to your PC, you go to your command prompt. Okay, then you have to give the command IP config/all. So that way you are displaying now the information of your local area network or the PC itself. So you look for the physical address, then there is the MAC address. Okay, you copy it, then you go back to your configuration, then you paste that MAC address. So basically you are binding now that MAC address to the port number 1. Okay, so nobody can use now this port except this MAC address. Okay, enter. Then afterwards, you're going to give the command switch port security violation. So basically you can put at least any of this violation. You are going to use protect, restrict, or shut down. If you are going to use the security violation protect mode, this here in our reading, okay, if you're going to put protect, there are 3 possible actions of that violation. If you are going to use protect, no notification is received. Wala lang. You just protect it. Protect lang niya. Nobody can use that port anymore. But no notification whatsoever if somebody have violated that rule. If you are going to use the restrict, a notification received of the security violation. So basically, it tallies the violation that particular port has been through. Okay, and when you're going to put the shutdown, so basically the port will be shut down. Okay, and tally that there is that there are possible what we call this violation of that security in your switch. Okay, so in that case here I am going to put the violation shutdown as an example so that you can see what will be the effect if the violation is set to shutdown. Okay, so that would be the command only if you want to impose port security to the switch. Okay, now before you you have to make this switch. You have to make this PC communicate with other PC or communicate with the switch so that that MAC address will be binded into that port. So take note, if you are going to give the command show MAC addresses, okay, do show MAC dash address. If you look at this one, sa VLAN 1, gigabit 01, and only FA01 has the MAC address already. And the rest here doesn't have, because we did not put the MAC address yet. We did not introduce the MAC address to each PC or to the switch. Okay, so let's try to ping, still pinging. Okay, it's still pinging. Let's try to see what the MAC address is. Look at that. The more that you are pinging that device, it introduces its MAC address to the switch. Okay, so let's try. Let's try to transfer this line to the hacker because the hacker would like to hack you. So he took the cable of PC2 and put it in himself, okay, in his laptop. So he will now use the line by pinging each of the computer. Look at that. Automatically, the line was shut down because you put a port security already there. Now, if I am the administrator, no, uh, if I'm the administrator and I want to check whether there are violations in my network, I do give the command. No, you can do it here. You can do it at the privilege mode. Do show port dash security. Enter. Look at that. Okay. So we only impose one port security and there is already a violation and there is already the shutdown. So this security is shut down and it had violated already once. Okay. So the next thing that the hacker will do is, okay, put that line back to its original PC. But what happens? The port is still shut down. So when this person here ask, why is it that my port is shut down? Because somebody used it. Somebody used that line, which is not supposed to be his line, because the MAC address intended for that port is only this PC. So the administrator will will change the configuration of this line here so that this PC can use that line again. Okay, so to do that, the administrator will go to that line in FA0/1, then he will give the command shut, then no shut to activate that line again. Okay, so nobody can use this port except this PC. Okay, so imagine if you are going to put the 24 times, that's many. Okay, again, we can shorten the command by giving the command like this. So by giving the port security altogether, okay, so you have two different ways to do that. We got manual, okay, manually and dynamically. So you have seen already how a port security is implemented manually. This time we do it dynamically. So by doing it dynamically, we are going to configure all the devices all together so that in one setting, port security will be activated, not one by one. Okay, so again, let's go to that command. So to configure all together the switch, the ports, you have to give the command in, okay, interface We'll go out here so that you can see better. Interface range FA0/1 2, and you have to determine first what are the ports that is being used. So port number 1, 2, 3, port number 24, and port number G01 and G02. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 ports altogether that we are going to combine. Okay, so again, FA01, 2, 3. Since FA01 has been configured already, so we are not going to configure it anymore. So we start with 2, 3, 24, G01, and G02. Okay, so those will be configured all together. We're going to combine them. So your command will be interface range FA02 to 3, comma, okay, FA0/24, comma, gigabit 0/1 to 2. Okay, so those are the ports that we are going to configure. Again, first command, switch port, mode, access, then switch port, port security, switch port security max 1 or maximum 1. Then instead of putting each and every MAC address of this PC, okay, since you are going to put it all together, your switch now cannot determine what port is using what PC, but we have to make that switch automatically learns the MAC address of each device. Okay, and so meaning there will be a dynamic learning of that switch where your PC is being connected to each port. So let that switch determine what would be the MAC address of each device by putting the command MAC address sticky. Okay, so the sticky command is letting the switch dynamically learn what would be the MAC addresses of your devices of your PC. Okay, enter. Then switch port, port security, violation, shutdown. Okay, so those are the commands in order for you to configure your port security all together. And let's try. Make sure that all the PC here will ping each other, will use the switch so that the switch can determine what will be the MAC address of each PC and bind it to that port. Okay, so we do the ping here, ping there, you ping here, you ping also here. So basically, all of this PC here are pinging to its device. Okay, so let's try to see if all the PC has tallied already the MAC addresses, or the switch has tallied already the MAC addresses of each PC by giving the command do show MAC address. Enter. So basically there. So G02, G01, FA0123, and 24. So there are 6 PCs already, no, devices attached to each port. So this way, let's say for example, no, if the hacker would like to take the cable of this PC here and attach it to itself, so basically he is thinking now that he can still hack the computers and especially our server. Let's try. Ping din siya, then ping dito, automatically, look at that. The line is disabled. So we'll take it back. He will use another line. Okay, and he would like to ping this one or hack the server. He cannot hack the server because every time that the switch knew that that the MAC address of this line is not the same or is not original, it automatically shut downs that port. Okay, so let us see how many violations already occurred in this particular instance by giving a command do show port dash security shows already that for each port, okay, the PC number 2 and this PC here and PC here has already a violation. Okay, so every time this hacker uses that particular port, it tallies the violation. So as an administrator, you know already that there is somebody hacking your system. Okay, so that's one point. Now, you can use also the restrict and the protect. But the problem of the protect is you don't know this. There is no like this. Okay? You cannot determine whether there are violations or none at all that occurred. But when you say it's restrict, restrict meaning it will not shut down this line here, but rather it will tally that there are violations. No? It will give you a notification that there are violations occurred. But this way, it's hassle because every time somebody uses that port, which is not his, the line will be shut down. And all you have to do as an administrator is to bring it back again. Okay, so that port will be used by each of the owner of that particular port. So again, in order for you to bring it back, you go to that port. Okay, you can range it. Okay, you can range it. That is port number 2 and 3. Okay, port number 2 and 3. Okay, then you have to give the command shutdown, then no shutdown. Okay, so it goes back to its original connection. So basically, this is how port security works already. If you have any question, maybe siguro you can um, type it or you can comment it so that I may know what would be the problem at your end. Okay, so I guess this will be the end of my presentation, and I guess everything is already cleared, no? And everything is already explained except this line here. Ali, dugay pa, no? This is a different topic. That's why we have to wait. Any questions so far? No more? So I guess I will be stopping here. Thank you. And I am very happy that uh, we have discussed already all of these things here. No? And I'm very happy about this. Okay. If you have any question, again, you can tell me. And goodbye. Bye-bye. Ciao. God bless all. Okay. So that will be the end of my presentation. Thank you and goodbye. Peace out.